Want to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for August the 3rd, 2020. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of July 20, 2020.
Reviewing the minutes, are there any corrections, additions to our minutes? Have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item number 1. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan. Yes. Alex
Yes.
Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments July 11, 2020 through July 24, 2020.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, the purchasing committee met and we recommend approval.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our claims list. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of the professional design services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates to provide transit, sidewalk, trail, and bikeway master plan for the city of Muskogee, recommended by staff and the AIM Infrastructure Committee, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Wilkerson?
Mr. Committee Chair and the members, this is a something that we've not really done before, but I'll just read you some of what's planned to be done. The project includes updating the Trails Master Plan for the City of Muskogee, which was first done in 2004. In conjunction with creating an integrated plan for strengthening public transit access and use, this plan will identify and prioritize a range of projects to create and complete a network of public transit, sidewalks, trails, and bikeways, providing people of all ages and abilities safe, comfortable, and accessible routes to and from neighborhoods, parks, schools, churches, community services, food establishments, retailers, employers, and other key locations. Doing so will better meet the transportation and recreation needs of Muskogee residents and visitors. This is an effort that was created by the collaboration between agencies from the that was established in the AIM Infrastructure Committee. Funding for the project was established through an MOU with these agencies that joined together to provide financial assistance to make this happen. That includes Muskogee County Health Department, Oklahoma State University, Muskogee County Transit, and Neighbors Building Neighborhoods is also involved with supplying assistance with the planning effort. The city prepared, this is kind of a unique process that we've not undergone before. We've done planning before, but to do this kind of a multidisciplinary planning. So there's not very many communities that have done it like this. And so the AIM Steering Committee saw the need to address all these various forms of transportation, including the trail master planning. So we have funding in our budget to do this planning, and the other agency stepped up to add funding to do this multidisciplinary type planning. So a committee was formed with those stakeholders. We put out an RFP for this type of planning. We received two RFPs from RFQs, qualification letters from two companies, national companies that have an expertise in this. We interviewed both these companies. We ultimately selected the Kimley Horn to do this project. The agreement that is in your packet gives a scope of services, what we intend to try to accomplish, and the funding, the cost of the project is not to exceed $50,400, and as I mentioned before, there's 4 different agencies that are providing that funding. Be happy to try to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Wilkerson?
Mr. Chairman, about to be recognized.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miller, could you come here for a second, if you don't mind, sir? Stay there, Mr. Wilkerson. I'm only a city councilman up here, but Mr. Miller is your boss. If you don't mind, Would you mind telling him next time he comes to this mic to keep that mask on so he's gonna get germs in this mic? Because that's what it's all about, Mr. Miller. Is having this mask on and talking into this mic, not having the person take the mic off and then talk into it. I see that all the time now. I've seen it on the Congressman Lewis's funeral. When they went to that mic, they did talk in it, but when they got through, they took it and wiped it down and got another mic. So that's just my concern up here, because like I say, this stuff is spreading widely up. In our city still. But I would just like for you to tell your employees when they come to the mic, if they don't mind, would they keep their mask on when they're talking in that mic?
I'll speak with Mr. Wilkerson about it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You have any further questions?
Mr. Wilkerson, I want to say that I think this is a good idea for these separate agencies to participate in the funding mechanism, because it's going to benefit not just Muskogee as a city community, but the residents as well. So larger than the government benefiting, the residents are going to benefit from this, particularly in the area of transit, which has been a concern for several of our residents in terms of routes and timing of those routes. And so certainly we want to thank you for your part, as well as those other agencies who stepped forward with the funding mechanism, because we're certain that going forward, it's going to take a community effort to be certain that we have the funding to do what we need to do with so much uncertainty with the economic impact of COVID-19. So thank you, and certainly express our condolences to those agencies who are doing their part financially as well.
I don't believe we got a motion, did we, Tammy?
No.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Tammy, I believe that we have Alex Reynolds online as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
All right. Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of bids for street repair and infrastructure projects as follows. 1, APAC Central in the amount of $1,493,102.50 for mill and overlay on Southeast Zone Street Rehabilitation Project. 2, Vance Brothers in the amount of $309,947.90 for microsurfacing on the Southeast Zone Street Rehabilitation Project. 3, Ross Construction in the amount of $85,804.40 for alternate striping on the Southeast Zone Street Rehabilitation Project. And 4, Cook Construction in the amount of $889,600 for infrastructure installation on the Walnut Creek Development Project, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, committee and mayor. I want to start out by discussing maintenance projects versus new construction projects and reconstruction projects. What we're addressing today is a maintenance project, and I want to try to address a couple of issues that we've had in the past. When we do a maintenance project, it's not going to be a pristine street like a new construction or a reconstruction where they're going to go in and tear it out and pour brand new curb and gutters, and we're going to expect it to be pristine. But this is going to be maintenance projects where we're going to go in and mill off the surface of a street. We're not going to probably touch any of the curb and gutters. We do have a couple of pieces of curb repair that we do have in this project, but most of it's not going to get touched. So when the street goes back, the street will be fairly smooth, but you'll still have rough curb and gutters. They'll still go up and down where the tree lines have pushed them up. Now, we could have gone in and done new construction or reconstruction of these streets, but we wouldn't have gotten nearly as much work accomplished for the money. Also wanted to address some of the issues that we had on the southwest zone that we're going to have on this same project in the southeast zone. One of them is when we pave a street that has bar road ditches, or as I call them, bar ditches, the contractor's responsibility is not to address that ditch line. He's going in there and putting a new surface down, and it could very well have raised the street up, which is going to make the ditch line look worse, which could be a sharp edge. That's not the contractor's responsibility to go in and straighten it out. Now, we're not going to turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to it. We're going to go in with city forces and we're going to make those corrections, but that's not part of this project. I also want to point out one of the issues we had on 30th Street where we laid from Muskogee back to the south. That street, when it was originally built, was a concrete street, and most of the driveways in it transitioned very smoothly. In time, it was overlaid, so the elevation of the street was actually raised by 2 inches. So when Runt's driveway went in, he tied into the original asphalt street. But the rest of the driveways back through there, they actually had a bump in them that went down into it and caused water ponding in their driveways and different issues. So when that street was milled off, the decision was made to lay it back gutter to gutter and not curb to curb. Now, either way we would have went, whether we laid it back curb to curb or gutter to gutter, we were going to have an issue. If we went curb to curb, all those other driveways would then have that same water ponding or bumps into their driveways. So what we did, though, was we went back in and we put a little ramp into Runts, which was the least amount of work to do to correct all the driveway issues. So I just want to make sure that you know that we're aware that some of these projects that we do are going to have problems. And they're not always going to be the contractor's responsibility, because he's hired to come in and mill it and resurface it. And then we'll take city forces in there and we'll correct anything that we need to. So the project that is before you today was approved by the street committee. I want to make sure you know that. And excuse me, I have to slow down because this mask makes it just a little bit hard to breathe. This project is going to be for 180 days, and it's 180 days from the time we issue a notice to proceed. So this has got to go through this committee, through city council. Then we'll have an award of bid to the contractor. He will get 15 days, whether he takes them or not. He gets 15 days to provide his bonds. Then we will sit down with them in a meeting and we will sign a notice to proceed. He will have 180 days from that day. And the question was asked earlier, how did we determine the 180? We had a meeting, which we call a pre-bid meeting, with all the contractors where we discuss all the issues that they see that might be in these projects, and it was agreed upon that everybody felt the 180 days was appropriate to get all this work done. These are all ODOT approved, and I have a handout for you.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm also going to hand you out a list of the streets that we're going to do.
Thank you.
So the first handout I gave you is an overview of the project, and if you look on that page, it's got a total for the mill and overlay of $1,493,102.50. It's got a total for micro surfacing of $309,947.90, and striping for $85,804.40, or a total of $1,888,854.80. And by the way, I did check, that is in the budget, so it's an appropriate amount. We are clear on our budget. If you go to the next page, you'll see a breakdown of the mill and overlay. So that very first figure, that $1,493,000 is broke down the way it is on that chart. And I'll go through it if you would like, otherwise I'd like to go to the next page. The preparation work for this project, and it's listed on the previous page along with some other stuff, is $775,517. Now the prep work is to get the streets ready. That's to go in and square up the bad places, patch them, do what's needed to get that maintenance base in order so that we can put that new surface on it. If you go to the next page, one of the things that Mr. Miller instructed me on was to try and keep these projects the same, or he actually gave that instruction to the previous staff. And what I wanted to show you is if you take the $1,493,000, you subtract the prep work, that comes to $717,000. Then you add the micro surfacing and you add the striping, you come up to a total of $1,113,337. To compare it to what we spent on the southwest zone, that was $1,115,587. So they're fairly appropriate sized projects and fairly similar. The difference being that the prep work was done on the southwest zone in-house, which we don't want to do. We're behind in our street work. We're constantly being asked about patching potholes and digging ditches and things that we need to be doing. So the decision was made to put the prep work into the project cost. So I'm just trying to reflect here that it's fairly similar projects. So again, it's $1,888,854. The prep work is done by the contractor. And as Councilman Reed pointed out in purchasing committee, we did have some coordination problems in the previous project with city staff and contractors. This won't happen in this because they're going to be doing it together. I also wanted to point out that this is maintenance, and these projects move along rather quickly. So we really feel comfortable that we'll get it done in the time frame that we've given you. Saying all that, there's another piece to this, and it's the Walnut Creek subdivision. And I'll turn that over to Mr. Garvin, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have when he's finished.
Thank you, Mike.
If you'll remember correctly, Walnut Creek Addition is located on Country Club Road, east side between Chandler Road and Hancock. The city of Muskogee entered into an agreement with Home Creations, which is one of the largest home builders in Oklahoma. Our deal was they were to purchase 30 acres, plat the property, which they did, added it into 116 lots. We said we would provide infrastructure to get the project started for phase one, which consists of 40 lots. This project is to install the water, sewer, streets, and storm water for those 40 lots. Cook is pre-qualified, meets the requirements. We're actually about 6 months behind on this project. We wanted to have houses under construction in April, and we haven't even started the infrastructure yet. So we recommend approval, and again, Cook is pre-qualified, and he was the low bid.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Stewart or Mr. Garvin?
I'll be recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Stewart, over on Creek Street, I know this when I'm coming down Augusta Street, going back west or going back east, either one. I know it's Creek Street is concrete, but when you're coming off Augusta Street, when you first make, I'm going west now. We're gonna go west.
On Augusta.
Yeah, on Augusta Street. We're going west. When you turn on to Creek Street, there's asphalt. We've patched that and patched that. Are we gonna cut that all out and make it look neat? Because the rest of the street down that way on Cook Street is concrete. And then when you get on past, I don't know if that's Monterey, what the name of that street is running east and west too, it's holes all down through that street. So we are going, that's what I'm asking.
So again, most of this work is going to be done by the contractor.
Okay.
And if there's areas like that that need to be addressed when this project is completed, we will do them in-house with the street department. I do know the area you're talking about, and you're correct, that needs to happen. So we'll ensure that is taken care of.
And one more thing, I noticed like in the western quadrant in Derek's ward that this time, I hope they don't cover none of our drains up, storm drains, because, you know, over on East Stale Street, they covered them plumb up. It was right there by the,
Actually, on Williams, they did too.
did they?
Yeah,
So-
and again, we'll go in there and correct, we still got a couple of corrections to make over there to finish that up. But I can't ensure that they won't cover one up, Ivory, but if they do, we'll get it cleared out and we'll get it fixed.
I just thought when we had people, you know, when they're going down or doing this stuff, it's kind of like go pre and look at it and point these out to them, what not to do for these grades, not covering them up. You know, like a pre-inspection.
So there's going to be a pre-work conference, and
Okay.
that will be addressed in the pre-work conference, the problems that we had in the southwest zone. So as always, we learn from every project we do, and we will address that in our pre-work conference. Dave's shaking his head, yes, he's going to make sure that we do that, and so will I. So
Can you let me know on that pre-work conference when it is? so I can give Mr. Miller or somebody to come
So
with me?
usually we don't set that until after we get that notice to proceed.
Okay.
And then somewhere in that process, we'll set a pre-work conference where we'll sit down with the contractor and we'll go over what we expect, and he'll go over with us what he expects from us and how we'll pay and so on and so forth.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
All righty.
I had a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What is the span on the project? So you're saying that it's just gonna be an overlay?
Mhm.
What's the life on it? I mean, we patch it, overlay it?
So that's a very hard question to answer. And
Okay.
it's like a lot of things. It just depends on what kind of maintenance is taking care of it in the future. And that we keep the water off of it, we keep the drains clean, we keep the ditches open. One of the things in the street department that I used to live by is if you can't drain it, you can't maintain it, so you've got to keep the water off. But usually you can expect to get 10 years out of most of it. Unfortunately, we'll probably get many more than that, but you'll get 10 good years, and then if we can get a cycle going of maintenance, we can keep that going.
Thank you.
We sure hope so anyway.
All right.
Mr. Stewart, I think it's important you just take a couple of more minutes to elaborate on the comment you made about how the staff is going to be on hand during this project to prevent a lot of the other problems that we've had, because I know that's so important for people to understand that many times if staff is not stretched thin like we have been in the past, we've had difficulties, especially with inspection services. And I think that what you said just now about that is worth repeating so people can understand that.
So I will assure you that myself will be on the job periodically. I won't be out there constantly, but I will go out there periodically. We'll have staff out there. If they see problems that they don't know how to address, they're going to know that they can get on the phone and get me out there. David Garner, who is our street superintendent, who's got many, many years of experience, will be out there as well, periodically, not constantly. I don't know if you know Melvin Parker in our department, but Melvin's got well over 20 years doing this work, just like I've got many, many years and David does, and he's going to be out there on a regular basis. And then we will put an employee out there that will be there all the time. And that employee's instruction will be to holler at one of us if they see something or something's going on that they don't know how to address. So I will assure you we'll be keeping eyes on it. Now, I will not say that there won't be problems, because there will, but we'll address them when they show up.
Thank you so much.
We won't, Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
In other words, we won't have a proper inspector.
So I feel like with the team that we've got right here, we've got enough years' experience that we're good inspectors for
Most
this type
definitely.
of work. If you, as council, feel that we need somebody else, then we'll address that with Mr. Miller. But I do feel the staff you've got for the type of work that we're going to do is adequate for inspections.
But that's what we've been trying to get, Mr. Stewart, is in-house inspections and somebody.
For
know
this
what-
type of work, that's probably what needs to be.
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to do. Somebody know what they're doing in-house, so we don't have to spend all this money other places. Turn the floor back over to Mr. Chairman.
All right. Did we get a motion on that, Tammy?
No.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
All right, that, item 4 is passed, and that is our final item on the Finance Committee meeting.
I will now call to order the Public Works Committee for August the 3rd, 2020. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of July 20, 2020.
Everyone had a chance to read the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 2.
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 3-6-3, Sexual Harassment and General Harassment Policy, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Plunkett.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we currently have a harassment policy in place. It is a sexual harassment and general harassment policy. It gives definitions of harassment, both general harassment and sexual harassment. It provides different types of examples of what harassment may be, and also provides information on how an employee should report harassment and how the chain of command doesn't have to be followed in these type of cases. It also provides information to the supervisors in the HR department in regards to how harassment cases will be handled. In June of this year, there was a Supreme Court ruling that stated that transgender and gay individuals need to be covered under our policy. Our policy didn't have specific language, so we did add that language in there. In addition, we have added some examples that may constitute harassment as defined by our policy after discussions with our city council members. We have added those into the policy. There's a red line copy in your packet, as well as a final version. I recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, might be recognized.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so used to looking over at Ms. Hibbs. I'm sorry. Kelly, would you read item K and item L on this new policy?
K to L.
K and L.
K and L. Advocating for removal of a member of the city council or another elected official. L is investigating the plausibility and or solidity of a member of the city council or another elected official's position of office.
I'm so glad these two items are in there. They should have been in there years and years and years and years ago, but I'm glad they're in there now. So that protects us up here as councilmen when people harass us, because we have that going on. You know, so I'm so glad that you added that, and thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, Roy, on behalf of myself and the council, because all of us can be harassed, and the mayor. So I'm glad that's in place.
Yes, sir.
That protects us. So thank you very much. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Ms. Hibbs.
Okay, any
Councilman
more
Hibbs.
questions? Motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the item passes. Item number 3,
Consider the appointment of Sharon Champlin to the Roxy Theater Community Trust to serve a 5-year term, replacing Kim Lynch beginning August 1, 2020, and ending on July 31, 2025, or take other necessary action.
this is my appointment, and I think most of you know Sharon. They ran Jasper's for years and years, and she graciously asked to be on this, so I am excited to submit her name, and I ask for approval.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Yes, Councilman Hibbs.
I'm
I'll be
sorry.
recognized.
Yes.
I got the copy of all the boards up here. I had them pulled, and I'm glad that you do have at least one black minority on this Roxy Theater board. And it used to be a time, when other councilmen were up here, I had to say this, look like I'm gonna have to say it again, because we need to get some diversity on these boards. So, I'm all about diversity. So, I appreciate your appointment, but I just want you to know that I'm gonna be looking at these boards closely, to see how many, minorities are on these boards. So I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Van.
No problem.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 4,
Consider the appointment of Stephanie Morgan to the War Memorial Trust Authority to serve a 3-year term, replacing Donald Wardlow beginning September 1, 2020, and ending on August 31, 2023, or take other necessary action.
this is another one of my appointments, and Steph has so graciously said that she wants to learn more about the city. I said, okay, would you like to serve on this? And she said, yes, I would. So Stephanie, thank you for stepping up. So I would like to move that we accept Stephanie.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
On this appointment here, congratulations, Stephanie. I think you'll do a wonderful job on this board. But I'm also looking at this board here. I don't see one person of color on this board by these names that I see. So in the future, again, I'm gonna ask y'all, please, add people of color on some of these boards you have. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Ms. Chairman.
Thank you. Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval of the appointment of Corey Sisson to serve on the Muskogee Industrial Trust, filling the expired term of Mike Leonard, beginning August 1, 2020, and ending July 31, 2026, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, this appointment here, this is one that is for our industrial trust, and it's my understanding that we seek out people in the banking industry to serve on this committee. So I have before us Mr. Corey Sessions, who is of Far Star Bank. He is replacing Mr. Mike Leonard, and I do have a letter of recommendation. Mike is going off, and he did recommend this gentleman, very qualified to serve in this position. So I would like to submit the name of Mr. Corey Sessions for the Muskogee Industrial Trust.
Second. Council Reynolds.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Gibson, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Councilman Reed, I talked to him about this also. You got 3 people on this board, and again, there's no person of color because we only really, I know Mr. Russell, he's on a lot of boards here in Muskogee, but it's not our fault, but still, it should be a person of color or a minority on this board that he just got through appointing someone to. So I'm just making y'all aware of this, because I'm gonna be checking them every now and then. So I'll turn the floor back over to you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Van. Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the item passes. Item number 6.
Consider the reappointment of Letitia Dawkins to the Martin Luther King Community Trust Authority to serve a 5-year term beginning August 1, 2020, and ending July 31, 2025, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Van?
Ms. Dawkins is my appointment. Councilor Reed came to me and asked me would I reappoint her. I don't know her personally, but if Councilman Reed says she's gonna do a great job, I know she's gonna do a great job. And by the way, she is a black female. So I definitely glad that she's on the board. And the King Center boards has a lot of minority board members on there, on that board. That's probably one of the boards, all the boards on each sheet I have, they have more minorities than any board that I'm looking at on each sheet. So that's my appointment. I'll make a motion to appoint her.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the item passes. We did not have anyone sign up to speak, so this concludes our agenda for tonight.
We'll now call to order the special call meeting of the Muskogee City Council for August 3rd, 2020. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Here.
Ivory Van,
Here.
Jamie Stout, Evelyn Hibbs,
Here.
Alex Reynolds,
Here.
Stephanie Morgan, Tracy McGee,
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Item number 1.
Receive report on the COVID-19 pandemic in Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action to authorize and approve a subsequent amendment to Resolution Number 2801, declaring a local emergency, or City-County Joint Resolution Number 2803.
I'm going to ask Mr. Miller to come to the microphone, and while he's doing so, I'm going to read a statement. I want to personally thank those businesses in the city of Muskogee who have thus far voluntarily responded on wearing masks as part of their mitigation plan in the ongoing fight against COVID-19. While our numbers appear to remain flat, they are not going down, and we cannot emphasize enough the need for our residents to continue to wear masks where social distancing is not practical. We understand that some residents have medical conditions that prevent them from wearing masks for a prolonged period of time, but those who can, we ask that they please do so. We're working with businesses and the medical community at this time to devise a plan of action that will help businesses to keep people safe without having to roll back our existing COVID-19 phases. The largest employer in Muskogee is the small business person. We are working on a mitigation plan that keeps people safe, slows the spread of COVID-19, and allows the economy to sustain growth during these unprecedented times. We're also exploring options through the state and federal channels to assist struggling small businesses so that our small businesses know without any doubt we have not left them behind. Over the next several weeks, you will hear that Muskogee residents will begin to receive complimentary washable and reusable masks in their water bills. This is part of a reimbursable program provided to cities funded through FEMA. I want to thank City Manager Mike Miller and his staff for taking the time to do what they can to make our community safe, because ultimately a better Muskogee has to be a safer Muskogee, which is always a stronger Muskogee. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. It's my privilege to be here, and thank you for letting me give you a brief update. Just a few things I want to cover, and then I'll bring our emergency manager, Tyler Evans, and I believe we have Doug from the health department on as well to give you guys updates. The main thing I want to talk to you about today is our workplace protocols that we put in place based off our discussions that we had here last week. We did roll those out this week. We've had very few hiccups on that, and we had discussions again at staff meeting today about some tweaks that we can make. But in general, our employees have responded well and are adapting to the new policies. The public is as well, and so we're trying to make that process as seamless as possible. You have before you samples of the masks we've ordered. They have arrived. They are right now in a process of working with a vendor to get those packaged and mailed, and Mr. Evans will give you an update on those. Again, these are reusable fabric masks, and we're sending, the idea is to send 5 to every water service address that we have. So it may be enough for some families or some households, not enough for others, maybe too many for somebody, but we will have several more, thousands more, that we're going to work with community partners to distribute as well. So if anybody in Muskogee needs a mask, the city will find a way to help you get reusable masks that you can use to try and keep your neighbors safe. These aren't just necessarily designed to keep you safe, but we wear them to help each other out. And so that being said, I will let Tyler kind of explain where we are with that process, and then bring along other partners as well.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, could I be recognized?
Yes.
I need to ask Mr. Miller a question,
Yes.
if you don't mind, Mr. Miller.
Oh, absolutely.
Last week, we mandated wearing masks here in this council and for our city employees, correct? And also in our city facilities. Is that correct?
Yes.
We did mandate that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. We might have mandated, Mr. Miller, but this is where I got the problem.
Okay.
We had an incident that you texted us on today, on Facebook. And it was Facebook Live. And over a gentleman, I think his shooting happened last week, and they caught him today. You recall that?
Yes.
Okay. So it's always good to have Facebook, and when I get on Facebook, I look and see what's going on. But I don't know if you've seen it or not, Mr. Miller, but our police officers was over there, probably was 16 of them. I think the guy that was filming, he counted them, I also counted them. Neither one of them, none of them, had masks. I don't understand that, Mr. Miller. These are your employees. And if you want to see it, go to Alan Thompson's video on Facebook and see what your employees are not listening to what you're saying and what this council is putting forth for its policy. Because our policy is to wear masks.
Yes, sir, and we do. There are cases where we don't. Sometimes when we're outside, when we're able to social distance, I'll go look at the video and we'll see what we need to do. In that instance, we had a lot of officers there, and they had a lot of important it was a life or death situation that they were facing, and they had a lot of protective gear on, and if they didn't have their mask on, they did have other gear that was very vitally important in that situation. What I'm thankful for is that they were there and being there to put themselves at risk, hopefully not with the mask, but with their daily duties. Being there, the special operations team was called out today, and I was very grateful that they were able to be there. And if in their haste to get there to protect the people around in that neighborhood from the people that were there, if in their haste they didn't put their mask on, then I apologize on their behalf to you. And I will be happy to look at that video.
What I was looking at on that video was, I seen the special officers unit there. I seen them by the house. Still didn't have no mask on, the special officer unit. The regular police officers that's just there investigating right next to each other, no mask. It don't take but 5 seconds to slap this mask on. But you really need to look at that video and see this right here. There was no sense in none of them not having a mask on, you know. But when they come up, I don't mean no harm, but when they come up in here, they want to throw a mask on. But out there in the field, they don't have a mask. So that's the problem I see with that, Mr. Miller, that your employees are really not listening to what you're saying.
Well, just to be clear, I'll go back and look at the video, but
I
our
wish you will.
policy says that when you're out in the field, you don't necessarily have to be wearing a mask. If you're in a enclosed space or within 6 feet of someone else, that is how we've implemented the policy. So
Look at the video.
I do want to make sure. I absolutely will do that. And again, I do want to make sure that in my heart, they have their main job is to keep us safe, and why we had 16 of them out there was a very dangerous situation. I'm happy they were able to do it in a safe manner for everyone involved, themselves, the suspect, and the neighbors especially, the people in the neighborhood. So I'm glad they were able to do that. And forgive me if I'm going off track talking about that. But that's, we are implementing our workforce measures, and I think it has gone relatively smoothly. It is a habit that people have to get into, and I've found myself of a morning, Counselor Van, I'll just confess, I've found myself of a morning walking in the door, and I didn't have it on in the car, and I walk halfway down the hall and realize, oh, I better get my mask on, right? So it's a habit that if you're not all the way into it every second, you may forget, and I'm guilty. You know, if we're going to call somebody out, I'll call myself out, that I've walked down the hall, you know, last Thursday and Friday both when I came into work and I didn't have my mask on yet. So we're trying to get people into that habit, and hopefully we can extend a little grace if somebody isn't in that habit yet. But in general, we want them to do it, absolutely.
I'm going to say one thing, and I ain't going to say nothing else, Mr. Miller.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get in the habit of having this mask on, and the way this virus is around here, and all over the United States and the global, you got choices. You got going to the hospital, you got going to see your funeral home, or you got going to see your cemetery. Those are the choices. So I'd rather have this mask on than have those choices. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Miller, you can continue. I think you had some other speakers that you wanted to
Yes,
have talk to us
I
tonight.
have nothing further at this point, but I'll be happy to address questions now or later, but I'd ask Mr. Evans to come forward at this time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'll give us an update on the mask real quick. As we stated earlier, you have some examples in front of you. Some masks I'm currently wearing now. It's a mask Mr. Miller is wearing. I've had this mask for over a week. It's absolutely reusable, a lot better than the blue surgical masks that are the disposable ones. We ordered 100,000 of them, and they came in today. They're on 3 different pallets. They're at our mail distributor up in Tulsa, and our plan is to send out a little over 12,000, send these masks out to 12,000 of our residential water customers. They're currently printing the letters that's going in the envelope, and they'll start stuffing the envelopes with the mask probably tomorrow. And we're hoping that these will be sent out, dropped off at the post office either Wednesday or Thursday. So these masks is considered a local delivery because they're being dropped off at Tulsa, being delivered in Muskogee. We plan to see these masks in our residents' mailboxes hopefully by Thursday or Friday of this week. So like I say, over 12,000 envelopes with 5 masks apiece will be delivered this week. That still leaves us with about 7,000 envelopes. We're still going to put 5 masks in these other 7,000 envelopes to hand out to our businesses, the chamber. They can drive through the payment center. If they need masks, simply ask for some masks. We've got them. We'll give them to you. We'll give them an envelope with some masks in them. So that's the plan. Those will be done after we get these mailed out this week. So I'm hoping by the end of this week, early next week, all the masks will be ready for pickup and mailed out. In front of you, we have an update for this week I provided with each of you. We're currently at 101 active cases in the city of Muskogee. I've taken out some of the verbiage and the percentages that kind of took up the top section of the report there and replaced it with the data going back to June 15th. And this is just for the city of Muskogee. As you can see, the total cases is 321. That's up 63 from last week. The number recovered, we're up to 208, so 52 people have recovered since last Monday. And the number of active cases is up 11. We're at 101 active cases versus 90 last week, which is better than the week before. As we stated, last week was a pretty rough week. We jumped up 36, and we're still up 11 for this week, but it's better overall than what it was the previous week. The chart there at the bottom of the page is our cumulative cases page that reflects the 321 number that we're at. If you flip your page over to the next page, you have a chart for the active cases in the city of Muskogee. That reflects the 101 number, up from 90 from last week. Obviously, our goal is to get this line to go down or flatten. It has flattened before and went down from July 13th to 20th. That's what we're aiming for, is to get that line to flatten out and start going down. For the state of Oklahoma, 20% of ICU beds are available, 25% medical surgery beds, and 80% operating room beds are available. That's up 14% from last week. Last week, 66% of operating rooms were available, and it's 80% this week, so pretty good increase there. Does anybody have any questions as far as the data is concerned, or any of the graphs? If not, I'd like to introduce Doug Walton from Muskogee County Health Department to give us an update as far as testing and testing availability at the health department.
Yes, thank you, Tyler, Mayor, and council members. As of today, the state of Oklahoma has 38,225 confirmed cases, with 30,820 who've recovered and 550 fatalities. Leaves currently 7,405 active cases. That's compared with last week, 467 additional active cases this time last week on Monday at the state level. Muskogee County, including all municipalities, has had 448 total confirmed cases, 300 of whom have recovered, 16 fatalities, leaving 132 active cases. That's an increase from Monday. We had 124, so we're looking at an increase of 8 new active cases in the county, including those that are within the city. We're seeing continued increases in number of cases throughout the region. Just in total cases, we've had an increase of 89 since last Monday in Muskogee County, 132 in Wagner County, 111 new cases in Cherokee County, 102 in Sequoyah County, 14 in Haskell County, 24 in McIntosh, and 65 new cases in Okmulgee County. We are continuing to do testing at the Muskogee County Health Department. Actually, this week, we will only be doing the curbside, not the rapid test, but the standard testing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, partly due to a slowdown in the lab turnaround and capacity, trying to catch up, and also due to short staffing that's being tied up with contacts tracing and case investigations, as well as a loss this week of National Guard assistance at the health department in Muskogee County, which we hope to have back next week and hope to be back on 5-day free curbside testing. 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. This week, though, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Wednesday and Friday remaining this week, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. And then people do need to call ahead to see if they're eligible for the rapid testing. That number is 918-912-2160. And that also, as I have mentioned in the past, although perhaps not as clearly as I should have or meant to, but in order to qualify for the rapid testing, a patient needs to be symptomatic and also with a chronic medical condition or 65 or older, and then that way they can get the rapid testing. We are continuing to see high positive rates of testing, 6-7% of those tested. And if you recall, I mentioned back prior to the 1st of June, our rates of positive test results was less than 1% of those who were tested. I do believe that's all the data I've got to report. Just really want to reinforce the guidance for wearing face coverings in public, washing hands often for 20 seconds or longer, maintaining physical distance of 6 feet or more apart, even with face coverings. Practice symptom checks prior to any kind of team sports or gatherings, and then really just encouraging people to stay home if they're sick or have any particular health conditions or compromises. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
If there's no questions, I'd like to remind those of us watching at home, this data, the graphs and the percentages and everything that I've provided to council and read off tonight is available on the City of Muskogee Emergency Management Facebook page. Go there. It's been posted. If you'd like to see what we've been discussing tonight, it's available for free there. Are there any other questions from council?
I just had a question on the masks. Are they also for children or is it just adult masks?
It's just this one size here. It was hard to find two separate sizes, and we didn't know the ratio. As you can see, this mask here has 2 ear slits in it for adjustable sizes, so it can be tied up or adjusted a little bit smaller for our use.
Thank you.
Tyler, I'm sorry, I did actually have one other thing I needed to address.
Yes, sir.
Just as we had discussed in the call with stakeholders this afternoon, as of Friday, the COVID alert system from the State Department of Health did move Muskogee County into the orange or moderate risk phase, which is related to our cases per day that are being added per 100,000. Really, all of the measures that I mentioned and that the city is undertaking to encourage face covering are what need to be done and just need to be done as diligently as possible. That's all.
Thank you, Doug. There are no other questions. That concludes my update.
What was the cost on those?
I'll let the cost for the mask themselves are 95 cents a piece. When we first started this, remember back in March, we had masks bought for employees. Those were at a cost of about $3 a piece. The blue surgical masks, last time I bought those, were running about 50 cents a piece for the blue surgical ones. So for 95 cents, I've been wearing the same mask for over a week now for reusable. So we went out, I had 5 or 6 different companies, vendors that we reached out to. We looked at different styles of masks, different weights, the elasticity. Do we do ear loops? Do we do ear slits? Then one of the biggest problems was finding a vendor that had 100,000 in stock. That was one of the biggest issues, and how quickly we could get them. Because this is not something that we wanted to wait 2 or 3 weeks for somebody to make masks and then send them to us, wait another week to have to get it out.
Right.
You guys gave us permission to get masks out to the public, and that's something that we needed to do very quickly. And we accomplished that, in my opinion, in a very short time frame. So we reviewed 5 or 6 different styles of masks. This was deemed to be the best mask at the best price. And for $95,000, we got 100,000 reusable masks for the public.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, we don't necessarily have anything else further to recommend to staff. So whatever you'd like to discuss amongst yourself for this item. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do we have any comments among the council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. May I be recognized?
Yes.
One thing I left out, Mr. Miller. One thing I left out. Well, matter of fact, two things I left out. There was one officer out there today had a mask on. That was Officer Ron Mays. And last week, I was watching TV. I was seeing Channel 2, 6, Fox, and Channel 8. And I seen the officers on there. Oh, they was all masked up on TV. They was representing Muskogee. You know, you ever heard of showboating? They were showboating them well, but they wasn't showboating them today. They didn't have nothing on except one. So I figure if you get on TV and can wear them and say how good Muskogee's doing with our PPE, you can do it in real life, not play it. That's just what I had, you know, that's what I was going to tell you just a while ago. I seen that last week on TV and I seen it today. I just shook my head. Don't play masks with me. Wear them. Don't play, you know. That's just how I feel. I turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any other comments from the other council members?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, Councilman Hughes.
Yeah, I just want to add to something that is being said. One of the things I want to say, any of us that wear masks, that wear glasses, we know that we have some issues with fogging. So if we're going to require SOT in an emergency to put on a mask that may impair their vision, that needs to be a decision that's made at that point, then and there. Any time that they may have to draw their weapon and use it, I don't want their vision impaired. I just want that put on the record, please. Second, I just want to talk about on the microphones. Councilor Van is right. We need to do some things about protecting the microphones. As far as wearing a mask with speaking, sometimes that doesn't always work out. We should looking at microphone covers that can be wiped down after each speaker comes up and used. Also, I would like to say that with the cloth masks that we have purchased, I looked at some data regarding cloth masks, and they are very effective with what we are trying to do as far as mitigate the spread of coronavirus. I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Councilperson Hughes. Any other comments for council?
I'd just like to thank Councilman Hughes for his comments.
Thank you. That was the last item. We don't have any other individuals who have signed up to speak. We're adjourned.